Hi guys. Look, book club time. Book club time. Okay. Let's see if I can get those English words out with clarity. Okay, guys. No, I've missed a couple of days. Whew, doing readings and reading is a lot. Okay, with my mouth be hurting talking so much. I'm not used to talking so much. Believe it or not, I stay in my head a lot than be talking a lot. But I'm glad I'm doing this. I like doing this. I like doing the reading club, the book club, and doing my actual readings. It brings me a lot of happiness and fulfillment, connecting with people, helping people, guiding people, doing what I'm naturally good at. Feels good. I like it. Okay, so this is the book I'm reading. The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield. It's really good. I definitely 100% suggest that you download it or order you a paperback. If you're doing Amazon, you get it the next day for the most part. And you can read at your own pace. You can do your own reading. I just do this book club because I just like it. Some people like to, watch because I'm reading the book chapter by chapter, but I'm also putting in my 2 cents, my opinion, and my own personal spiritual journey, and that's why I'm reading it, because I've already read it all, and I can put myself in the spiritual mental situations that were happening. This book is about somebody who's on a journey. I haven't been on this adventure that this person has gone through, but everything he's learning on it is what I've gone through. So that's why I'm doing this book club, and I like it. I love it. It makes me excited. And if y'all join in or buy the book yourself and read it on your own, then more power to you. But I'm on chapter 3 now. I got my pen because I like to underline like important aspects in regarding to notice what happens in their environment, notice what happens within themselves, and realize that same situations could be happening with you. Similar situations. Okay, so chapter 3. Oh, and by the way, every day I like to do a oracle spread on myself. What divine oracle message the spirit have for me for a bookmark, And today I got, or just right now, I got protection. Call back your power, cut the cords, and soul retrieval. I keep getting this card. And it's funny because this is basically what the book is about, per se. Calling back your power. Yep, your energy. So it's pretty funny that I keep getting that card. Anyways, so with chapter 3, a matter of energy. Let's get it started. We rose at dawn and drove east. Oh, I would like to start to give y'all like a preview of the previous chapters, but it's been a couple of days since I've read. All right, I know that chapter 1 is when he meet up with the friend that he hasn't seen in years. She tells him about this trip to Peru that she went on, and she found out about a manuscript, and this manuscript was written in 600 BC. A prophecy about what's going to happen right before the second millennium starts. How a mass of people is going to start consciously waking up, and it's a big deal because it's a mass of people. Like individuals be doing it throughout time, but around the end of the 20th century, 1960, I think it started. It was saying that it started is when people will start waking up consciously, waking up into consciousness in mass numbers. And beginning of the second millennium, 2000, is when everything is gonna, Chapter 2. So chapter 1 was the first insight, which is being conscious of how everybody's restless and coincidences. Being conscious of that, being aware of that happening. This chapter 2, which is the second insight, it is learning your history, learning the history of mankind, of humankind, and then your own history, and realizing that because the main character, which is the writer James, when his friend Charlene was telling him about it, and he was skeptical. He's like, I mean, I can understand, certain people waking up or whatever things happening, but not as a mass of people, not as everybody or whatever. And second chapter, he meets a history professor, which he tells him, like, if you look back in the beginning of time, how everybody believed in God, through these churchmen, these holy men who acted like they was the only one who could read the hand of God, and then hundreds of years later, they're like, wait, hold on, you're not holy. Y'all not holy men because y'all are doing unholy things, and then y'all are letting the government bribe y'all to ignore the unholiness that they're doing. Clearly, y'all are not holy. So there's got to be another way for us to connect with God or find the meaning of life than just y'all churchmen, because y'all ain't real. And so 1600s is when the scientists it became the scientists' times, and when they're looking at the planetary aspects, the astronomers, and they got explorers to go figure out who is God, or what is God, and what is the meaning of human existence. Why are we alive? What is our purpose? So they sent off these explorers, and time was going by, and these explorers wasn't coming back with answers. So during that time of waiting, people were like, well, we got to do something while we wait for these answers, since we don't know the answers ourselves. And that's when, people started inventing things and just finding ways to survive here on Earth, which they was finding these raw natural materials of Earth, from the Earth, and just started creating things from it, and just surviving. Since we didn't know why we was living, why we was alive, we were just surviving any humanly way that we could survive. So then when the 1900s came along, we got back to 400 years later, we got back to remembering why we even started. Like, what was the original question, which was, why do we exist? What is God, who is God, and why does humans exist? What is our reason for living? And so this is where we're in the time of realizing that everybody, like a mass of people, are waking up and remembering why we're here. They're finding their why, their life purpose. Okay, now we're in chapter 3. A matter of energy. We rose at dawn and drove east all morning in virtual silence. Early on, Will had mentioned that we would drive straight across the Andes into what we called the High Selva, an area consisting of forest-covered foothills and plateaus, but he had said little else. I had asked him several questions about his background and about our destination, but he had politely put me off, indicating he wanted to concentrate on driving. Finally, I had stopped talking altogether and had focused instead on the scenery. The views from the mountain peaks are staggering. Okay, so I know I'm just starting this chapter, but throughout the beginning of James and Will, who he just met, Will is on the journey of discovering the manuscript. The manuscript is a prophecy, which I told you, a prophecy foretold about the future, which is happening now for them. I mean, happening now, period. But Will already is like 9 insights, and Will already knows 1 through 8. He's going after the 9th. James, who's just starting, he's just learned the 2nd insight, and now is gonna learn with this 3rd chapter the 3rd insight. So he's trying to get Will to talk about everything, but Will is not. Will is just basically saying, just shut up and just enjoy, the scenery. But Will is not saying that. I think James is coming to the realization, okay, Will ain't talking. He'd rather concentrate on driving, so let me just shut up and pay attention to the sceneries. Which really, like, come on now. Have you ever gone on a road trip? And on road trips where, like, you're going from city to city, state to state, and some parts of the road trip is all nothing but nature. Even if you go through towns, the different type of towns, different aspects and cities and whatever. But if you just, sometimes you might be too focused in your phone or too busy talking with one another, and when you're distracted from talking to somebody or in your phone, you don't see what's going on the outside. So Will is like, I'm not trying to talk. I just focusing on driving, and he's really trying to motion him to you shut up and focus on the scenery because the scenery is beautiful. Part of your spiritual journey is noticing the scenery, noticing your environment, and seeing the beauty of everything. Because when you see the beauty of everything, you see the beauty within and just with everything, okay? If you're too busy talking or in your phone or distracted with something, you don't see the beauty and stuff. About noon, when we had reached the last of the towering ridges, we stopped at the overlook to eat a lunch of sandwiches in the jeep and to gaze out at the wide, barren valley ahead. On the other side of the valley were smaller foothills, green with plant life. As we ate, Will said we would spend the night at the Vienna Lounge, an old 19th century estate which formerly belonged to a Spanish Catholic church. Vienna was now owned by a friend of his, he explained, and was operated as a resort specializing in business and scientific conferences. With only that brief explanation, we departed and rode silently again. An hour later, we arrived at Vienna, entering the property through a large iron and stone gate and proceeding northeast up a narrow gravel drive. Once more, I asked a few probing questions concerning Vienna and why we were here, but as he had done earlier, Will brushed aside my inquiries. Only this time he suggested outright that I focus on the landscape. Now Will is like, just shut up and pay attention to the beauty, to nature, to your environment. Shit, you're missing out on the beauty. Immediately, the beauty of Vienna touched me, and we were surrounded by colorful pastures and orchids. And the grass seemed unusually green and healthy. Thickly. It grew thickly, even under the giant oaks that rose up every 100 feet or so throughout the pastures. Something about these huge trees seemed incredibly attractive, and I couldn't quite grasp what. After a mile, the road bent east and up a slight rise. At the top of the knoll was the lodge, a large Spanish-style building constructed of hewn timbers and gray stone. The structure appeared to contain at least 50 rooms, and a large screened porch covered the entire south wall. The yard around the lodge was marked by more gigantic oaks and contained beds and exotic plants and walkways trimmed with dazzling flowers and ferns. Groups of people talked idly on the porch and among the trees. So, since Will had him to shut up, James was able to see the beauty of where they was at, the beauty of this landscape and the environment. As we got out the vehicle, Will lingered a moment and gazed out at the view. Beyond the lounge to the east, the land sloped gradually downward, then flattened out into the meadows and forests. Another range of foothills appeared bluish purple in the distance. I think I'll go in and make sure they have rooms for us, Will said. Why don't you spend some time looking around? You're going to like this place. No kidding, I said. As he walked away, he turned and looked at me. Be sure to check out the research gardens. I'll see you at dinner time. Will was obviously leaving me alone for some reason, but I didn't care why. I felt great and not the least bit apprehensive. Will had already told me that because of the substantial tourist dollar Vienna brought into the country, the government had always taken hands-off approach to the place, even though the manuscript was often discussed here. Several large trees and a winding path toward the south attracted me, so I walked that way. Once I reached the trees, I could see that the walkway proceeded through a small iron gate and down several tiers of stone steps to a meadow filled with wild flowers. In the distance was an orchard of some kind, in a small creek more. In the distance was an orchard of some kind in a small creek in more forest land. At the gate, I stopped and took several deep breaths, admiring the beauty below. Ooh, I want to go to this place. This sounds so beautiful. I just love looking at nature and the flowers and just the trees and the landscape and the greenery and just the hills and the mountains and oh my gosh, it just be heaven, beauty of nature. Like God did that. God did His thing. Even if people planted it, still God made it. Shit. It's certainly lovely, isn't it? A voice from behind asked. I turned quickly. A woman in her late 30s carrying a hiking pack stood behind me. It certainly is, I said. I've never seen anything quite like it. For a moment, we looked out at the open fields and at the cascading tropical plants and the terraced beds on each side of us. Then I asked, do you happen to know where the research gardens are? Sure, she said. I'm heading that way now. I'll show you. After introducing ourselves, we walked down the steps and onto the well-worn path heading south. Her name was Sarah Lorna, and she was sandy-haired and blue-eyed and could have been described as girlish except for her serious demeanor. We walked for several minutes in silence. Is this your first time here? She asked. Yes, it is, I replied. I don't know much about this place. Well, I've been here on and off for almost a year now, so I can fill you in a bit. About 20 years ago, this estate became popular as a sort of international scientific hangout. Various scientific organizations had their meetings here. Biologists and physicists mainly. Then a few years ago, Lord, she hesitated for an instant and looked at me. Have you heard of the manuscript that was discovered here in Peru? Yes, I have. Now he meets another stranger who is about the manuscript. It's like every single person he runs into, I mean every single person, manuscript. How a coincidence. How James, the main character, learns about this manuscript, and then he sets forth on a journey to Peru to learn about the manuscript. Didn't know what he wanted to do because he didn't know nothing about Peru. He don't know nobody here. Don't know where to go. Don't know nothing. But he's like, fuck it. Let's find out what happens. That's by faith. That's like when tarot, the Fool card, taking a leap of faith. Don't know nothing. Don't know where he going. Don't know nothing. But he's still gonna go because he wants to learn. And clearly, this is the what he's supposed to be doing because every single person he meets and he runs into knows about this manuscript and willing to teach him about the manuscript. Like, coincidence? Yes. Okay. He says, yes, I have, I said. I've heard about the two insights. I wanted to tell her how fascinated I was with the document, but I held back, wondering whether to trust her completely. I thought maybe that was the case, she said. It looked as if you were picking up on the energy here. We were crossing a wooden bridge which traversed the creek. What energy? I asked. She stopped and leaned back against the railing on the bridge. Do you know anything about the third insight? Nothing. It describes... Let me get my pen. The third insight. It describes a new understanding of the physical world. It says we humans will learn to perceive what was formerly an invisible type of energy. The lodge has become a gathering... Oh, shit, I didn't need to read. Underline that. Okay, so the third insight. It describes a new understanding of the physical world. It says we humans will learn to perceive what was formerly an invisible type of energy. Jeez. The lodge has become a gathering place for those scientists interested in studying and talking about this phenomenon. The scientists think this energy is real? I asked. She was turning to walk across the bridge. Only a few, she said, and we take some heat for it. You're a scientist then? I teach physics at a small college in Maine. So why are some scientists disagreeing with you? She was silent for a moment as if in thought. You have to understand the history of science, she said, glancing at me as if to ask whether I wanted to get deeper into the subject. I nodded for her to proceed. Think about the second insight for a moment. Okay. Think about the second insight for a moment. After the fall of the medieval worldview, we in the West suddenly became aware that we lived in a totally unknown universe. In attempting to understand the nature of this universe, we knew we had to somehow separate fact from superstition. In this regard, we scientists assumed a particular attitude known as scientific skepticism, which in effect demands solid evidence for any new assertion about how the world works. Before we could believe anything, we wanted evidence that could be seen and grabbed within the hands. Any idea that couldn't be proved in some way, some physical way, was systematically rejected. Okay, so as y'all know how scientists are, scientists wants to know, only believes the truth if they can see it and they can feel it, if they can prove it. That's the things of scientists. And that's why scientists, as they don't believe in God, because you can't see it, you can't feel it, you can't describe it, you can't witness it. That's why a lot of scientists don't necessarily believe in God, heaven and hell, and spirituality and magic and mystical things, because they need proof. Which there's proof everywhere if they just open their mind, open their heart, open their third eye. Okay. God knows, she continued, this attitude served as well with the more obvious phenomena in nature, which objects such as rocks and bodies and trees, objects everyone can perceive no matter how skeptical they are. We quickly went out and named every part of the physical world, attempting to discover why the universe operated as it did. We finally concluded that everything that occurs in nature does so according to some natural law, that each event has a direct physical and understandable cause. She smiled at me knowingly. You see, in many ways, scientists have not been that different from others in our time period. We decided along with we decided along with everyone else to master this place in which we found ourselves. The idea was to create an understanding of the universe that made the world seem safe and manageable, and the skeptical attitude kept us focused on concrete problems that would make our existence seem more secure. Scientists was, like I said, was just more so worried about the physical, being skeptical of what they can't prove. Okay, God knows this attitude served us well with the more obvious phenomena in nature. With the objects such as rocks and bodies and trees, objects everyone can perceive no matter how skeptical they are, we quickly went out and named every part of the physical world, attempting to discover why the universe operated as it did. We finally concluded that everything that occurs in nature does so according to some natural law. That each event has a direct physical and understandable cause. You see, in many ways, scientists have not been that different from others in our time periods. We decided, along with everyone else, to master this place in which we found ourselves. The idea was to create an understanding of the universe that made the world seem safe and manageable, and the skeptical attitude kept us focused on concrete problems that would make our existence seem more secure. So, obviously, the scientists, analytical, practical people were more so focused on the physical instead of the spiritual. And this manuscript is more so on taking the physical and making sense in the spiritual. We had followed the meandering path from the bridge through a small meadow and into an area more densely covered with trees. With this attitude, she went on, science systematically removed the uncertain and esoteric from the world. We concluded, following the thinking of Isaac Newton, that the universe always operated in a predictable manner, like an enormous machine, because for a long time, that's all it could be proved to be. Events which happened simultaneously to other events, yet had no casual relationship, were called to occur only by chance. So when some a magical mystical thing happened that happened simultaneously, that wasn't controlled or like um, predictable, science, the analytical, practical people were like, "Oh, that's just by chance." No, nigga, that's the universe. That's God. That's spirituality. That's magical shit happening. Okay, science systematically removed the uncertain and the uncertain science. Science systematically removed the uncertain and the esoteric from the world. We concluded, following the thinking of Isaac Newton, that the universe always operated in a predictable manner, like an enormous machine, because for a long time that's all it could be proved to be. Events which happened simultaneously to the other events, yet had no causal relationship, were said to only occur by chance. People with no imaginations are scientists, but think they have imagination. But they have the imagination in the practical, physical realm instead of like imagination in the mental, spiritual realm, emotional realm. Then two investigations occurred which opened our eyes again to the mystery in the universe. Much has been written over the past several decades about the revolution in physics, but the changes really stemmed from two major findings, those of the quantum mechanics and those of Albert Einstein. The whole of Einstein's life work was to show that what we perceive as hard matter is mostly empty space with a pattern of energy running through it. This includes ourselves. And what quantum physics have shown is that when we look at these patterns of energy at smaller and smaller levels, startling results can be seen. Experiments have revealed that when you break apart small aspects of this energy, what we call elementary particles, and try to observe how they operate, the act of observation itself alters the results, as if these elementary particles are influenced by what the experimenter expects. This is true even if the particles must appear in places they couldn't possibly go. Even the laws of the universe, as we know them, two places at the same moment, forward or backward in time, that sort of thing. That's a lot of science talk. And honestly, I never liked the science, even though I learned all of this in science classes. But it's just these scientists, they question everything, right? And when they come upon something, they gotta keep questioning and questioning and questioning, looking deeper and deeper and deeper into physical elements, physical properties. So you go from the findings of Isaac Newton to the findings of Einstein. The whole of Einstein's life work was to show that we perceive as hard matter is mostly empty space with a pattern of energy running through it. Okay, if you remember your science class, or if you're a sciencey person, well, Einstein realized that anything solid, even us, we're not all the way solid. We're just made up of energy. We're just made up of little tiny ass particles that made us to a solid being, and everything. That's why they say that everything's always in motion. Even a still table is in motion because it's all energy particles. It's just tiny little particles that are all bunched together to make it solid. Like, for instance, sand, right? You have just one little sand, it's just this one little tiny little marble of a sand. But when you have a whole beach full, it makes a whole beach that you can walk on the sand, right? And you're on top of the sand, or you might sink in a little bit, but you're still like you walking on top of it. It's because there's so many of them to make a solid foundation where you can walk on. But yet, right, you kind of sink into the sand. But if the sand gets wet, all those particles gets wet and it dries up. All those particles is kind of hardens a little bit like a mud, hard mud, dirt, that when you walk on it, it's even harder. But it's still that one little sand particle. It's just billions of them, millions of them, right? That's how everything is in life. Even us, we're made up of these tiny little particles. With so many of them, it solidifies us, makes us solid. This includes ourselves. And what quantum physics has shown is that when we look at these patterns of energy at smaller and smaller levels, startling results can be seen. Experiments have revealed that when you break apart small aspects of this energy, what we call elementary particles, and try to observe how they operate, the act of observation itself alters the results. Experiments have revealed that when you break apart small aspects of this energy, what we call elementary particles, and try to observe how they operate, the act of observation itself alters the results. As if these elementary particles are influenced by what the experimenter expects. Like if you ever gone to psychology class, or if you're into psychology, how the brain works, or how sociology, how people work, you notice that, okay, we're doing science, we're doing an experiment. Okay, so you got two people, right? It can happen with anything. A lot of people do it in regarding like plants or something, or water. I'm sure y'all. I don't know, but if okay, you got this one bottle of water, one glass of water, two glasses of water. One of the glass of the waters you speak so kindly to. You even put like nice words, stickers on it, and you just speak to it. Oh, I love you. You're so beautiful. We're having a beautiful day. You're having a wonderful day, and you just talking to that glass of water, and you talking nice to it. And you got this three water. Actually, it's 3 cups of water. And then you got one water you speaking bad to. Oh, you a piece of shit. You ain't shit. You ain't smart. You did it. Just speaking all types of negative shit to it. And then another water, you don't do nothing to it. You freeze them all. Okay, and the one you speak nice and positive to, it makes these beautiful ice crystals on it, like snowflakes type of things. Actually, it should be a drop of water, not a cup of water. And then the one you speak bad to, it has this ugly pattern to it, or no ugly pattern to it. And the one you don't speak nothing to it, there's like no pattern. But that's the same thing as plants. If you talk to a plant very nice and lovely, positive every day, it grows up to be beautiful. If you say you are beautiful and strong and mighty, it grows big and wide and abundant and fruitful. If you speak to one plant that, ugly to it, oh, you ain't shit, oh, you're weak, or blah 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 blah, it'll be a weak ass plant that never grows. Then the other plant that you don't speak anything to, it grows, but barely. Really, the one you talk negative to, it dies. Okay, you kind of get the gist, hopefully, right? Okay, and that's what she's saying. This is true even if the particles must appear in places they couldn't possibly go. Even the laws of the universe as we know them, two places at the same moment, forward or backward in time, that sort of thing. She stopped to face me again. In other words, the basic stuff of the universe at its core is looking like a kind of pure energy that is malleable to human intention and expectation in a way that defies our old mechanistic model of the universe, as though our expectation itself causes our energy to flow out into the world and affect other energy systems, which of course is exactly what the third insight would lead us to believe. So the third insight is about just learning scientific method, scientific attributes behind everything, which is just the energy particles. Everything is energy. One is being aware and conscious. Two is learning the history of humanity in our world. Three is learning the science behind it, behind energy and how it works. Okay. In other words, the basic stuff of the universe at its core is looking like a kind of pure energy that is malleable to human intention and expectation in a way that defies our old mechanistic model of the universe, as though our expectation itself causes our energy to flow out into the world and affect other energy systems, which of course is exactly what the third insight would lead us to believe. She shook her head. Unfortunately, most scientists don't take this idea seriously. They would rather remain skeptical and wait to see if we can prove it. That's your problem. People that's always trying to prove shit. Skeptics, pessimistic people always trying to prove shit. Sometimes you just can't prove shit. Just like God. You can't see God in the physical form. You can't see God. You don't know God. You don't directly, like, person talk to God. So, but yeah, you believe in God, other than some scientists. But, so, something you just can't prove. And, I believe you can't prove the existence of God or God's work, but physically you can't prove it. Just like your body on the inside, you got a heart, you got a heart, and that it's working. You got a brain, that it's working. Like your blood vessels, you got blood and it's working, but you can't control it. You can't prove it. You just know it's happening because you're alive. Your heart is beeping. Your brain is working, right? So there's something you just can't prove, but you just gotta believe it because you sense it, you feel it. That energy, you feel it. You just know. Hey Sarah, here we are over here. A voice calls faintly from a distance. To the right, about 50 yards through the trees, we could see someone waving. Sarah looked at me. I need to go talk with these guys for a few minutes. I have a translation of the third insight with me. If you would like to pick out a spot and read some of it while I'm gone. I sure would, I said. She pulled a folder from her pack, handed it to me, and walked away. I took the folder and looked around for a place to sit down. Here, for the forest floor was dense with small bushes and was slightly soggy. But to the east, the land rose toward what looked like another knoll. I decided to walk in that direction in search of dry ground. At the top of the rise, I was awestruck. It was another spot of incredible beauty. The gnarled oaks were spaced out 50 feet apart, and their wide limbs grew completely together at the top, creating a canopy overhead. On the forest floor grew broad-leafed tropical plants which stood 4 or 5 feet high and had leaves up to 10 inches in length. Sheesh. These plants were interspersed with large ferns and bushes lush with white flowers. I picked out a dry place and sat down. I could smell the musty odor of the leaves and the fragrance of the blossoms. I opened the folder and turned to the beginning of the translation. A brief introduction explained that the third insight brings a transformed understanding of the physical universe. Its words clearly echoed Sarah's summary. Sometime near the end of the second millennium, it predicted humans will discover a new energy which formed the basis of and radiated outward from all things, including ourselves. Okay. Sometime near the end of the second millennium, it predicted humans would discover a new energy which formed the basis of and radiated outward from all things, including ourselves. What exactly was that? Do you think is like I pondered that idea for a moment, then read something that fascinated me. The manuscript said, the human perception of this energy first begins with a heightened sensitivity to beauty. As I thought about this, the sound of someone walking along the path below drew my attention. I saw Sarah at the exact moment. She looked toward the knoll and spotted me. So, the third insight is about knowing the physical aspects Third insight brings a transformed understanding of the physical universe. Uh, human human perception of this energy first begins with a heightened sensitivity to beauty. So when you start seeing the beauty of everything, then like you see how, like when you really see the beauty, the true beauty, not just the outer beauty, but even the inner beauty, because you've seen it in other things and other people, you're seeing it within yourself, and you see the energy flowing from that beauty. That's like aura reading. They say we all have aura, right? Once you really become conscious, opening up your consciousness, you can start actually seeing the aura from people, seeing the energy from people and from things. This place is great, she said. When she reached out, have you come to the part about the perception of beauty yet? Yes, I said, but I'm not sure what it means. Further in the manuscript, she said, it goes into more detail, but I'll explain it briefly. The perception of beauty is a kind of barometer telling each of us how close we are to actually perceiving the energy. This is clear because once you observe this energy, you will realize it's on the same continuum as beauty. When you can see the beauty of everything, you see the energy of everything, and then when you see the energy of everything, you see the beauty of everything. If it's beautiful, it's radiating beauty, and you can see that energy. You sound like you see it, I said. She looked at me without slightest self-consciousness. Yes, I do. But the first thing I developed was a deeper appreciation of beauty. A deeper appreciation of beauty. It's opening your mind, man. Opening your mind, opening your heart, opening up your eye and your eyes. She shook her head. Hold on. But how does that work? How does that work? Isn't beauty relative? Thinking, isn't beauty like an outside thing? No. Beauty's on the inside too. She shook her head. The things that we perceive as beautiful may be different, but the actual characteristics we ascribe to beautiful objects are similar. Think about it. When something strikes us as beautiful, it displays more presence and sharpness of shape and vividness of color, doesn't it? It stands out. It shines. It seems almost iridescent compared to the dullness of other objects and less attractive. I nodded. Look at this spot, she continued. I know you are blown away by it because we all are. This place leaps out at you. The colors and shapes seem magnified. Well, the very next level of perception is to see an energy field hovering about everything. When you are, that's like being in love, right? You're in love with this person. And even though this person could be, slightly unattractive, or something about them is unattractive, whether it's their looks or aspect of them or characteristic of them, or maybe they're struggling, but you so in love with them with your heart that when you see them, when you think about them, they glow. You glow because you in love. That's your energy field. That's the energy field that what you see that is beauty or of beauty, or what you in love with, or what you love. Yeah, feeling that energy. I must have looked bewildered because she laughed and then said very seriously, perhaps we should walk into the gardens. They're about half a mile further south. I think you'll find them interesting. I thanked her for taking the time to explain the manuscript to me. A total stranger. So that's another person he met talking about the manuscript. And for showing me around Viente. She shrugged her shoulders. You seem like a person friendly to what we're trying to do, she said, and we all know we're involved in a public relations effort here. For this research to continue, we must get the word out into the United States and elsewhere. The local authorities don't seem to like us much. Saying this is a current information, we gotta spread the word. And what I'm doing, even before reading this book, that's what I'm doing. That's why I started tarot. Is spreading the word, like how to get connected to the universe, how to connect yourself, how to open yourself, how to heal yourself. Suddenly, a voice called out from behind, "Excuse me, please." We turned to see three men walking quickly up the path towards us. All appeared to be in their late 40s and were dressed in stylish clothes. "Would one of you like to tell me where the research gardens are?" The taller of the three asked. "Could you tell me what your Could you tell me what your business here? Can you Could you tell me what your business here is?" Sarah asked in return. "My colleagues and I have permission from the owner of the estate to examine the gardens and to speak with anyone about the so-called research being conducted here. We are from the University of Peru." "Sounds as though you're not in agreement with our findings," said, smiling. Obviously trying to enlighten the situation. "Obviously not," another of the men said. "We think it's preposterous to claim that some mysterious energy can now be seen when it has never been observed before." "Have you tried to see it?" Sarah queried. The man ignored the question and asked again, "Can you direct us to these gardens?" "Of course," Sarah said. "About 100 yards ahead, you will see a path turning east. Take it, and ahead, maybe a quarter of a mile, you'll run into them." "Thank you," the tall man said as they hurried on their way. "You sent them in the wrong direction," I said. "Not really," she replied. "There are other gardens in that area, and the people there are more prepared to talk with those kinds of skeptics. We get people like that through here occasionally, and not just scientists, but curiosity seekers as well. People who can't begin to grasp what we're doing, which points are the problems that exist in scientific understanding." "What do you mean?" I asked. As I said before, the old skeptical attitude was great when exploring the more visible and obvious phenomena in the universe, such as trees or sunshines or thunderstorms, but there is another group of observable phenomena more subtle that you can't study. In fact, you can't even tell that they're there at all unless you suspend or bracket your skepticism and try every possible to perceive them. Once you can, then you return to your rigorous study. Okay. So if you're a skeptic, you're not going to believe anything I'm talking about. If you're a skeptic, you're not going to believe. Do you even believe in God? If you're a skeptic, you it's like you can't see beyond what's right in front of you. The old skeptical attitude was great when exploring the more visible, obvious phenomena in the universe, such as trees or sunshine or thunderstorms. But there is another group of observable phenomena more subtle that you can't study. In fact, you can't even tell they're there at all unless you suspend or bracket your skepticism and try every possible way to possible to perceive them. Once you can, then you return to your rigorous studying. Interesting, I said. Ahead, the woods ended, and I could see dozens of cultivated plots, each one growing in a different type of plant. Most seemed to be food bearing types, everything from bananas to spinach. At the eastern border of each crop was a wide gravel path which ran north to what appeared to be a public road. Three metal buildings were spaced along the path. 4 or 5 people worked near each one. "I see some friends of mine," Sarah said, and pointed toward the closest building. "Let's go over there. I'd like you to meet them." Sarah introduced me to 3 men and 1 woman, all of whom were involved in the research. The men spoke with me briefly, then excused themselves to continue the work, but the woman, a biologist named Marjorie, seemed free to talk. I caught Marjorie's eye. What exactly are you researching here?" I asked. She appeared to be taken off guard, but smiled and finally answered. "It's hard to know where to start," she said. "Are you familiar with the manuscript?" Another person about the manuscript. "The first sections of it," I commented. "I've just begun the third." "Well, that's where we're all at here. Come on, I'll show you." She motioned for me to follow her, and we walked towards the metal building to a plot of beans. I noticed they appeared to be exceptionally healthy with no noticeable insect damage or dead leaves. The plants were growing in what appeared to be a highly humus, almost fluffy soil, and each plant was carefully placed, the stems and leaves of one growing near but never touching those of the next. She pointed to the closest plant. We've tried to look at these plants as total energy systems and think. Okay, see, this goes to the explanation what I was trying to say earlier. She pointed to the closest plant. We've tried to look at these plants as total energy systems and think of everything they need to flourish: soil, nutrients, moisture, light. What we have found is that the total ecosystem around each plant is really one living system, one organism, and the health of each of the parts impacts the health of the whole. So when it comes to a plant, it's not just one thing and one thing and one thing. It's not just the soil. It's not just the sun. It's not just the water. It's not just the nutrients. It's everything. Every part of it is a working organism for one one part as a whole. Good God. Okay. We've tried to look at these plants as total energy systems and think of everything they need to flourish: soil, nutrients, moisture, and light. What we have found is that the total ecosystem around each plant is really one living system, one organism, and the health of each of the parts impacts on the health of the whole. Just imagine, they're talking about plants, so just imagine as humans in this earth. For the past years, we keep saying like this earth is dying, this earth is reacting because we're polluting it, we're destroying it, we're taking from it and depleting the natural resource of this earth, so the earth is reacting. So just imagine if all of us humans were in the energy of love, we're positive people, we're good people, we're loving people, we're just, led with the pure hearts, this earth will go back to being pure, be more energetic, be more positive. The frequency, the energy of this earth will lift because we're all lifted, because we're all in the energy of love, positivity, and great things. But when there's more negative people with the negative thoughts, doing negative shit, being evil, being dumb, being and there's more of it, and then putting that energy into the earth by taking from the earth and destroying the earth and polluting the earth, then the earth is going to react. It's going to be in that same energy in regarding to being negative and being and dying because, okay? Even though we're just one individual, one person, one aspect of earth, doesn't mean that we can't destroy the earth when majority of massive people are being negative and being evil and being bad and taking from the earth and not feeding it. Okay? That's why it's important that we all need to work within ourselves internally, find peace and healing internally, and be in the energy of love, so we can give off that energy and everybody can be doing the same thing. It's a whole system, baby. It's a whole system, and every part of it is important. She hesitated, then said, The basic point is that once we started thinking about the energy relationships all around the plant, then we started seeing amazing results. The plants in our studies were not particularly larger, but according to the nutritional criteria, they were more potent. How was that? I didn't underline that. How was that measured? They contained more protein, carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals. She looked at me expectantly, but that wasn't the most amazing thing. We found that the plants which had the most direct human attention were even more potent. So it's not just about what you feed it. The minerals, the nutrients, the sun, the soil, the water. It's not just that. Those are aspects of it. It's also about the attention that you give it. Are you feeding it with love? Are you feeding it with hate? Are you feeding it with anything? Just imagine a kid, a child, a baby, a little baby. If you don't give it no attention, what does it do? It's lost. It screams, it cries, it goes hysterical. If you don't give an infant attention and love, it can die. No, literally, it can die. It could just die. Babies, infants, they need physical attention. They need affection. They need that attention. And when you don't give it to it, it dies. Okay, so it gets past the infant baby stages, from the toddler to a kid to teenager to an adult. When you don't give, in all those stages, when you don't give a person any type of attention, man, it's lost as fuck. It will be lost. That person will be lost as hell and probably get more attracted to the negative, toxic, you know, way of life, because that's more potent in this you know, society, instead of being attracted to the loving, positive, great aspect, because there's not a lot of people in that energy. So when you give a baby, a child, a kid, a teenager, an adult love, positive energy, positive attention, then it's a loving, positive person. When you give it negative, you know, and it ends up being, for the most part, a negative or scared person. It's the same thing as plans. It's the same thing as everything. She looked at me expectantly, but that wasn't the most amazing thing. We found that the plants which had the most direct human attention were even more potent. What kind of attention? She asked. You know, she said, fiddling with the ground around them, checking them every day, that sort of thing. We set up an experiment with the control group. Some plants were getting special attentions, others not, and the finding was confirmed. What's more, she continued, we expanded the concept and had a researcher not just give them attention, but to mentally ask them to grow stronger. The person would actually sit with the plants and focus all his attention and concern on their growth. Did they grow stronger? By significant amounts. They also grew faster. See, when you put faith and motivation and ambition and determination and positivity and love into something, be like, you are the best, you are great, you are strong, you are wise, you are smart, you are beautiful, you are loving. That person, that thing grows up to be exactly everything you just said. Like, yes, I am strong, I am beautiful, I am love, I am smart. Okay? Then there's people, if you say, oh, you stupid, you stupid as hell, oh, you dumbass, blah, 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 then that person, they're gonna think they're stupid and dumb. They're gonna keep just being that way because that's what I am, that's what it is. We don't know. Don't do that. Don't feed no negative energy into people, into things. Even if you don't like somebody. Even if somebody's getting on your nerves, don't. They're getting on your nerves because they're triggering you, because one, there's a trigger. If you're triggered about something, you need to work on yourself and heal that trigger. But two, that person, people who go out the way to hurt people, be hurtful and be hateful, they're hurts. And they just need somebody to love them correctly, love them right. It's just, the thing is, people be so consumed in themselves, they don't want to take that energy and time to do so. Which, I mean, shit. I can understand that, but we gotta help. We gotta help and love more than hurt and ignore. Or hurt, or ignore and hurt, which the ignoring can lead to hurt, more hurt. That's incredible. Yes, it is. Her voice trailed off as she watched an older man appearing in his 60s walk toward us. The gentleman approaching is a micronutritionist, she said discreetly. He came down here about a year ago for the first time and immediately took a leave of absence from Washington State University. His name is Professor Haynes. He's done some great studies. As he arrived, I was introduced. He was a strongly built man with black hair, gray streaks at his temples. After some prodding from Marjorie, the professor began to summarize his research. He was most interested, he told me, in the functioning of the body's organs as measured as highly sensitive blood tests, especially as this functioning related to the quality of food eaten. Lord. he told me he told me what interested him most were the results of a particular study which showed that while okay, sorry guys, I'm just a little bit tired, but I want to get this through. Talking so much kind of get me on like all over the left. He told me what interested him most were the results of a particular study which showed that while nutritionally rich plants of the kind grown at Vicente increased the bodies especially dramatically. The increase was beyond what could be reasonably expected from the nutrients themselves, as we understand how they work in body and a human physiology. Something inherent in the structure of these plants created an effect not yet accounted for. I looked at Marjorie, then asked, "Then the focusing of attention Then a focusing of attention on these plants gave them something that boosts human strength in return when they're eaten. Is this energy mentioned in the manuscripts?" Marjorie looked at the professor and gave me only a half a smile. "I don't know yet." So basically that they're saying, they're concluded that when you take care of a plant, nurture it with the nutrients, the soil, the water, the sun, and then also put in your human interaction, giving it time and energy, telling them you're strong, to grow beautiful, to grow potent, to grow abundance. The plant does, and then when people eat it, they feel that. They feel that energy that you put it in, and when you consume it, you feel it. So that's in food, that's in the plant. So just imagine in another human being, all right? It could be like a child. When you give child attention from the gate, while they're in your wound, when in the wound, you talking to it, you're loving it, you're singing it, you're nurturing it, you just love. The baby's born, time and attention and positive affirmations and energy, love, just love. It just grows into it, and then you see when that baby becomes a kid and a teenager and an adult, you see that person grows into a beautiful human being, because that's what they was raised out on, beauty and love. Or okay, you have a partner and you're in a relationship. If you speak love into that person, positive affirmations and just words of love and beauty, that person, maybe they wasn't originally like that. Maybe they had insecurities or doubts or fears, but if you speak positivity and love and just light and just energy into that person, they will become that. They'll become love. They'll become beautiful. They become confident. They'll become secure. Even though you should find it within yourself, obviously, but when you have people around you, especially people that you care about, just people in general speaking highly to you, that makes you feel good. Shit, I'm secure in myself. I'm confident in myself, even if I don't know, or if I'm not getting that reaction in return. But one person be like, "Dang, Tiffany, you doing good. Dang, Tiffany, I see you. Dang, Tiffany, that resonates. Damn, Tiffany, like you speak it to me. Damn, Tiffany, okay, that feels good." And not that I needed it, because I already shit. Clearly, I'm already confident in what I'm doing, because I'm still doing it every day. But to see those affirmations, to see those acknowledgments and positive acknowledgments, a positive what's the word I'm looking for? Not affirmations. Positive. Fuck. Words of encouragement or whatever. I can't think of the word I was trying to look for, but that too, words of encouragement, like that makes you feel good. Like, okay, y'all giving me, continuing the motivation that I have with myself, like that energy. Like I already had it in me, but when you keep different people, same people, different people just giving me like, "Tiff, you're doing a great job. You doing it. I feel it." Like that, my energy is just growing. Like, yes. So if you do that to everybody all the time, even if somebody's doing something wrong or doing something bad, don't come at them crazy. Don't come at them. Don't come at them matching that energy. Be like, look now. Like, I mean, I know what you did. It wasn't right, but look, maybe I don't know. Let's try to do it differently this time. Let's see it in another perspective. Let's, do better next time. I believe in you. Yes, you messed up. Yes, you did something wrong, but let's acknowledge it. Do you understand why you messed up? Why you did wrong? Okay. Well, let's do better next time. Okay, you're human. We make mistakes. It's okay. That's like how you would talk to your child, right? Well, at least how you should. Then you can talk to everybody like that. It don't have to be just children you talk to like that. It needs to be everybody. How do you talk to your pets, your dog, your cat, your whatever? With love, right? If you're always talking bad to your pets, to your dog, always talking bad, always abusing them, what they gonna do bad? They gonna bite you, motherfucker. They gonna attack you, or they gonna run away from you and never come back. So why would you do that to other human beings? Where we at? I asked him about. I asked him about his future research, and he explained that he wanted to duplicate the garden at Washington State and set up some long-term studies to see if people eating these plants had more energy or were healthier over a longer period of time. As he spoke, I couldn't help glancing periodically at Marjorie. Suddenly, she looked incredibly beautiful. Her body appeared long and slender, even under her baggy jeans and t-shirt. Her eyes and hair were dark brown, and her hair fell in tapered curls around her face. Okay, so about the plants part. Um, where he said how plants to see if people eating these plants had more energy or were healthier over a longer period of time. That's why they're nowadays they're trying to push people, healthy people, conscious people are trying to push everybody, trying to push people to start growing your own foods, to start growing your own vegetables, because when you're growing your own vegetables and foods, you are personally tending to them, right? And it's also saying that if you do that, speak love and energy and positivity into your vegetables, like, oh, you are a beautiful pepper, you're going to be strong and vibrant and nutritious and just very nutritional. Speaking to your plants, speaking to everything, to anything, and it will give it back to you. Shoot, just like I speak to my car. I speak to my car all the time. My car, I thank you. I call, I have her name. I said, my sexy black bitch. Because she's black. She's a black car. I'm like, thank you for loving me, for protecting me, getting me from point A all the way to point Z, back to point A. Just thank you for just being here with me. Thank you for riding it. Thank you. Or if something happens, like a pothole or a little scratch, I'm like, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. I love you. You gotta talk love and positivity to your things, to everything. So it can love you back. I felt a powerful physical attraction. At the exact moment I became aware of this attraction, she turned her head and stared directly into my eyes and backed away from me a step. I've got to meet someone, she said. Maybe I'll see you later. She told Haynes goodbye and smiled coyly at me and walked past the metal building and down the path. After a few more minutes of discussion with the professor, I wished him well and strolled back to where Sarah was standing. She was still talking intensely with one of the other researchers, but she followed me with her eyes as I walked. As I approached the man she was with, smiled, rearranged the notes on his clipboard, and walked into the building. Find out anything? Sarah asked. Oh, find out anything? Yes, I said distractedly. It sounds like these folks are doing some interesting things. I was looking at the ground when she said, "Where did Marjorie go?" So as I glanced up, I could see she had an amused look on her face. She said she had to meet someone. "Did you turn her off?" she asked, smiling out. I laughed. "I guess I did, but I didn't say anything." "You didn't have to," she said. "Marjorie could detect a change in your field. It was pretty obvious. I could see it all the way over here." "A change in my what?" "In the energy fields around your body. Most of us have learned to see them, at least in certain lights. When a person has sexual thoughts," oh, that's embarrassing. "When a person has sexual thoughts, the person's energy field sort of swirls around and actually propels out toward the person's who's the object of their attraction." Oh my god. So you got these people who can see energy, and they see you automatically out of nowhere like get sexually attracted to somebody, and these other people can see it happening. They can see your energy field. It's usually a different color, like swarm around the person that you're sexually attracted to. Oh my god! And you just imagine you in your own world thinking you're the only one that's noticing how you're attracted to someone, but mind you, everybody, even that person, notice it too. Oh, wee, that's embarrassing. Yeah. Marjorie could detect a change in your field. It was pretty obvious. I could see it all the way over here. And the energy field around your body, most of us have learned to see them, at least in a certain light. When a person has sexual thoughts, when a person has sexual thoughts, the person's energy field sort of swirls about and actually propels out toward the person's who's the object of their attraction. This struck me as totally fantastic, but before I could comment, we were distracted by several people coming out of the metal building. "Time now for energy projection," Sarah said. "You'll want to see this." We followed four young men, apparently students, to a plot of corn. As we walked closer, I realized that the plot was made up of two separate subplots, about 10 squeak. As we walked closer, I realized that the plot was made up of two separate subplots, each about 10 square feet. The corn in one was about 2 feet high, the other, the plant, was less than 15 inches. The four men walked to the plots containing the taller corn, then sat down, each on one corner of the plot facing inward. On cue, they all seemed to focus their eyes on the plants. The late afternoon sun shone from behind me, bathing the plot in soft amber light, yet the woods beyond remained dark in the distance. The plot of corn and the students were silhouetted against the almost black background. Sarah was standing beside me. "This is perfect," she said. "Look, can you see that?" "What?" "They're projecting their energy onto the plants." So you got four people that on the four corners of this one plant that's taller. They all sat down and they put their attention into the plant, focusing their eyes on the plant. And it's the one plant that's taller than the other plant. That's because these people are putting their attention on the taller plant. The one that's taller is about 2 feet high. The one that is not getting any attention is only 15 inches. So that's like 1 foot and 1 inch. 1 foot, 1 inch. Wait, no, 1 foot, 3 inches. The late afternoon sun shone. Okay, hold on, I read the part. I stared intently at the scene, but could detect nothing. "I can't see anything," I said. "Squat down lower then," Sarah said, "and focus on the space between the people and the plants." For a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of light, but I concluded it was just an after image of my eyes playing tricks on me. I tried several more times to see something, then gave up. "I can't do it," I said, standing. Sarah patted me on the shoulder. "Don't worry about it. The first time is the most difficult. It usually takes some experimenting with the way you focus your eyes. One of the one of the meditators looked over at us and brought his index finger up to his lips as we walked back toward the building. Are you going to be here at Vicente long? Sarah asked. Probably not, I said. The person I'm with is looking for the last part of the manuscript. She looked surprised. I thought all of it was already had been located, though I guess I wouldn't know. I've been so engrossed in the part of that pertains to my work that I haven't read much of the rest. See, that's the thing when people on their spiritual journey, their spiritual conquest, they get to one part of the conquest and they just be stuck on that because that's their focus. Like these scientists, the third insight is what they're more so excited about because it has to do with the physical aspect on your spiritual journey, the energy behind things on a spiritual journey. So that's why like everybody's in different places on their spiritual journey. Everybody is not going to be on the same playing field and the same level because everybody is different. We all are the same, but we all different pieces of the same puzzle, if that makes sense. Like some are meant to be singers, some are meant to be scientists, some are meant to be builders, architects, some are meant to be teachers for kids, some are meant to be bosses, governors, presidents, whatever. Some are meant to be spiritual gurus, some are meant to be preachers, pastors. Everybody has a place in this world. So just because we're all humans, we're all the same thing. It's just more so about on a spiritual journey. It's just all about being in the higher energy, being an energy of love, and seeing the beauty of everything. Okay, like with this book, there's 9 insights. For me and my journey is to conquer all 9. But like these scientists, they're more so focused just up to the 3rd insight because that's in the physical realm. That's in the physiological realm. Where we at? Okay, she says, she looked surprised. I thought all of it had been located, though I guess I wouldn't know. I've been so engrossed in the part that pertains to my work that I haven't read much of the rest. I instinctively reached for my pant pockets, suddenly uncertain where Sarah's translation was. It was rolled up in my back pocket. Sarah said, we've found 2 periods of the day most conducive to energy fields. One is sunset, the other is sunrise. Hold on. Oh, that's important. Sarah said, we've found 2 periods of the day most conducive to seeing energy fields. One is sunsets, the other is sunrise. If you want, I'll meet you here. Fuck, I need to underline that. If you want, I'll meet you here at dawn tomorrow, and we'll try again. So I guess maybe when you want to see the actual physical energy of things, the best time to see it is sunrise and sunset outside. Or maybe it's that time of the day, or is it outside during the sunrise or sunset? I don't know. Okay. She reached out for the folder. That way, she continued, I can make you a copy of the translation and you can take it with you. I pondered this suggestion for a few seconds and decided it couldn't hurt. Why not? I said. I'll have to check with my friend, though, and make sure we have enough time. I smiled at her. What makes you think I can learn to see this stuff? Call it a hunch. We agreed to meet on the hill at 6 a.m. and I started the 1-mile trek to the lodge alone. The sun had completely disappeared, but its light still bathed the gray clouds along the horizon in hues of orange. The air was chilly, but no wind blew. At the lodge, a line was forming in front of the serving bar in a huge dining room. Feeling hungry, I walked toward the head of the line to see what food was being served. Will and Professor Haynes were standing near the front, talking casually. Well, Will said, how did the afternoon go? Great, I said. This is William Haynes, Will added. Yes, I said. We met earlier. The professor nodded. I mentioned my earlier morning rendezvous the next day. Will saw no problem as he wanted to find a couple of people he hadn't talked to yet and didn't anticipate leaving before 9 a.m. The line moved forward then, and the people behind us invited me to join my friends. I stepped in I stepped in beside the professor. So what do you make of what we're doing here? Haynes asked. I don't know, I said. I'm trying to let it all soak in a little. The whole idea of energy fields is new to me. The reality of it is new to everyone, he said, but the interesting thing is that this energy but the interesting thing is that this energy is what science has always been looking for. Some common stuff underlining all matter. Since Einstein, particularly the physics has sought a unified field theory. I don't know if this is I don't know if this is it or not, but at the very least, this manuscript has stimulated some interesting research. What what would it take for science to accept this idea? I asked. A way to measure it, he said. The existence of this energy is not that foreign, actually. Karate masters have talked about an underlying chi energy responsible for their seemingly impossible stunts at breaking bricks with their hands and of being able to sit in one place unmoved for with four men trying to push them over. And we've all seen athletes make spectacular moves, twisting, turning, and hanging in the air in ways that defy gravity. It's all the result of this hidden energy that we have access to. Oh, that just sounds so beautiful to me. Of course. I mean, did y'all understand? I know I was reading and underlining at the same time. James asked, what would it take for science to accept this? I asked. A way to measure it, he said. The existence of this energy is not that foreign, actually. Karate masters have talked about an underlying chi energy responsible for this seemingly impossible stunts of breaking bricks with their hands and of being able to sit in one place unmoved with four men trying to push them over. And we've all seen athletes make spectacular moves, twisting, turning, hanging in the air in ways that defy gravity. It's all the result of the hidden energy that we all have access to. Of course, it won't really be accepted until more people can actually see it themselves. Have you ever observed it? I asked. I've observed something, he said. It really depends on what I've eaten. How so? Ooh, there's it goes to the part to where what you eat is very important, which I mean, that makes sense. Because what you eat is in your gut. Where your gut is where your solar plexus is at. Solar plexus is your power, your energy source, your confidence, and everything else, all the other chakras. Okay. How so? Well, the people around here who readily see these energy fields eat mostly vegetables. And they usually eat only these highly potent plants they've grown themselves. So if you want to see magic, if you want to see the energy fields, you gotta eat vegetables, highly potent vegetables. It makes sense. Vegetables are raised from the earth. That's nature. That's natural. That's God. So it makes sense. I keep trying to tell myself I need to stop eating meat and stop eating junk and stop eating sugars. But baby, I'm gonna get to it one day. I'm gonna get to it. It's not hard. It's just not easy. He pointed ahead to the food bar. This is some of it. Though thank goodness they serve some fish and foil bowl full for old guys like me who are addicted to meat. But if I force myself to eat differently, yes, I can see something. I asked myself why he didn't change his diet for longer periods of time. I don't know, he said. Old habits die hard. That's why, I be trying to see these energies fields myself. I can see it in an aspect, in a way. I just can't see the actual energy coming from things. And I'm working towards that, but really, I'm not going to be able to see until I change my diet, which I haven't done yet. But I feel like it's coming because I want to see these things. I think it's freaking awesome. Okay. The line moved forward and I ordered only vegetables. The three of... So, mind you, he only ordered vegetables. The three of us joined the larger table of guests and talked casually for an hour. Then Will and I walked out to the Jeep to remove our gear. Have you seen these energy fields? I asked. He smiled and nodded. My room is on the first floor. He didn't even want to answer. My room is on the first floor. He said, yours is on the third, room 306. You can pick up your keys up at the desk. Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God. That's a lot of reading. I'm tired. I might have to take a break right here. That's a lot of pages left. How much have I read? Oh, my God. Okay, I think I'm going to stop here because it's a big gap anyways. It's the end of one day. I'm going to stop here because we're already like an hour and a half and I got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more pages. I'm tired. Okay, guys, so we're going to continue to, we're in the middle of chapter 3 and I'll continue the rest of chapter 3 hopefully tomorrow. Anybody who happens to watch this recording or anything, I appreciate your support. I appreciate you tagging along. If you are, catch one of my lives and let's tag in together. We can talk about this together. I don't have to be by myself. Like, it's okay to join in. You can comment below in the chat box, or we can go live together and talk about it. This is the book club, so it's an open discussion. But since this is only me, I'm reading it and having a discussion with myself. But I'll see y'all next time. Hopefully tomorrow. I hate to give exact times because I be going with the flow. Sometimes I don't be feeling like it. Sometimes I'll be busy. But as of right now, I'll say I'll finish the rest of chapter 3 tomorrow. But if not, then I'll just take you out next time, guys. Thank you, and y'all have a good night. Bye.